Hey everyone, so real quick, I recently became a partner in the content creator program. So if you want to support me, I'll leave this link below. You go down to the search bar and you type in ZepYT, Zep YouTube, and click the support button. If you do this, if I get to 30 supporters, I'll be able to give out codes to my supporters. And I also get a small percentage back of what you guys spend in game for points to use in the game to, be a little more inefficient with my time and energy to get you more valuable content. So if you want to do that, I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, back to the video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, I'm going to be talking about 3 uncommons that I think are 100% worth going all in on. I mean, level 60, relic level 60, awaken 6-star, all of that stuff, because I believe that they scale all the way to the end game, and they can be used in stage 10 teams, all of that. So yeah, I've got 3 of them. Now, quick caveat is I think there's plenty of really good usable uncommons. There's a handful in here that are pretty good. Aside from that, there are some uncommons in here that are used in like special missions in the adventure mode. You might need to use them for favor dungeons just because they might be, just one of the few options that you actually have. On top of that, if some people don't have the necessary legendaries or something, you might need to look at some uncommons as a quick, as a little stopgap before you pull said legendary character. All right. So what I mean is characters like Malwool. I've talked about Malwool at length. I use him in my Frozen Plains Stage 7 team. I think he's a fantastic hero, but I don't think he ends up scaling all the way to the end. Just because I've seen some teams that just really completely crush Frozen Plains without needing the heal disruption, which is why I mainly run him. On his relic, he actually has the ability to do 100% chance of defense decrease 2, which is an amazing debuff. It's the highest debuff. No, I don't even know what the term is, but this is the largest 100% defense decrease 2 I've seen in the game, aside from Morgan. So yeah, heroes like him, I think are very, very good, and they're worth building. Argus, another one, has 100% heal disruption on his first passive. So this is someone that you can totally slot in and use as someone to help you progress through these dungeons to eventually get to a point where you are just pinpointing specific legendaries or rares that you're leveling up and not wasting resources, because the uncommons are just so easy to build. They don't take a whole lot of anything. Gold, XP potions, relic potions, none of that. So you can kind of build them up. The problem with uncommons is their baseline stats are less than rares and legendaries. So as you get higher up in the game in higher dungeons, it's a lot harder to keep them alive. It's a lot harder for them to do good damage. So the 3 that I'm going to tell you about, they fill kind of these niche roles where they're just so good in a particular area that it makes sense to still use them even over other legendaries. So with that being said, all of these uncommons probably have some uses somewhere, but the 3 that I think are totally worth using all the way to the end game are these 3. So the first one I think is probably the most obvious, and that is the Jared. This guy is 100% a Gorgos machine. He's fantastic there, but he has other uses. The reason why is because his second passive is like a poor man's version of Sergius's skill 3, right? I think, is that his name? I always mispronounce his name. I think his name is Sergius. Let's see here. The guy in the shop. Yes, Sergius. Okay. Yes, Sergius has an attack gauge boost, but that's exactly what That's exactly what Jared is on his second passive. Now, it comes with some caveats. You have to have effect accuracy put on twice to fill the attack gauge, but there are tons of ways around this. So it's actually really cool, but there's little cheese comps to deal with Jared, but if you put him extremely fast, in a vigor set, he's actually able to trigger his passives every 2 turns by himself because he puts up this DOT on him with his skill 2. And every time he has 2 or more effect accuracies, he removes all of his buffs and then fills the attack gauge of all of his allies by 60%. And then this is the part that makes him really good in Gorgos, is you remove all the DOTs. But that one is so straightforward. There's millions of videos about how Jared is amazing in Gorgos, but the other thing is he has this abusive attack gauge passive that doesn't have any cooldown on it. So you can literally do this every turn if you can proc it every turn. There is an uncommon who I've mentioned in past videos called Bulk. Bulk does have a ability on his second skill where he grants effect accuracy up on all of your allies, and that's what will trigger Jared every turn. He triggers poison on himself to trigger the first effect accuracy, which is up here, and then Bulk will trigger the second one, and then every turn you are charging your allies' attack gauge. So, yeah, Jared is just absolutely amazing. The removals of the DOTs is fantastic. I've seen that be a little more prominent in some of these higher end dungeons. So he is the first one. Now the other two, I think, are maybe a little less known. But the first one is Jack. Jack has actually 2 great passives, but the first one and the most important one is this Honing the Blade. Now, Honing the Blade is like a baby version of Jillian. So Jillian is, as we've talked about also ad nauseum, one of the best legendaries in the game. And on her second ability, her second passive, she has this Harvest Energy where if somebody gets abnormal status, it triggers overhealing. So it'll heal all of your heroes up and then remove the abnormal status. So this is huge, but it's on a 6-turn cooldown. It can be skilled down to 4, but we all know that the talismans for legendaries are very hard to come by. So it might take you a while to build that up. Meanwhile, Jack has something very similar. So whenever your allies are inflicted with abnormal status, it removes it from everyone and then grants them a shield of 10% of his max HP for 2 turns. That's amazing, and it can also be skilled down to 4 turns like Jillian, but his talismans are just so much easier to get. So you can even run him alongside Jillian. Like him and Jillian make sure that you'll never have abnormal status up on your team, which is amazing. Like in the dungeon where you get these talismans in Master of Death. This guy puts up a lot of abnormal status and is probably one of the reasons why you're, dying. So the only reason that I do not have Jack built is because I have Ain's Fire Relic, which on her skill 2 is 100% chance to remove abnormal status from each ally. This is like a busted relic for that dungeon, but most people won't have this. If you have her, then you don't need to build Jack unless you don't have Jillian. If you don't have Jillian, Jack is amazing. If you have Jillian and you're still dying and you want to run someone like Jack, you certainly can, because he has another great passive where when he uses his skill 2, he actually charges one of your character's attack gauge by 70% when this is fully skilled up, and you can do this 4 times. This will come in so clutch for you in so many different dungeons. If you need 1 or 2 more hits on a boss and you just need to loop back around to your damage dealer, this can boost the attack gauge of that damage dealer kind of to the front of the line just to get that last hit in. So that's amazing. His skills are okay. They're not great. He's basically there for his passive, but giving a shield to an ally isn't bad. And he does have a attack decrease 1 down, so that's okay. He also has a double hitter, so something like Penveed is, I guess, also an option, but the Penveed team, I think, is easier to build with all the free heroes that they give you. So, yeah, Jack is just an amazing character. I might build him just to showcase, why he's so good. He is in the Serpent favor. So if I ever come up against abnormal status, maybe I'll do that because they don't really have a good abnormal status remover. So I might end up building him anyway. Maybe I can showcase him once I do. But yeah, Jack, fantastic uncommon. He will 100% scale to the end game. Now, the last one is probably going to be the more controversial pick, but I really do think this character is important, and that's Alan. So believe it or not, Alan is the only hero in the game that has an AoE attack speed decrease. He's the only one. There is, I guess, a slight untruth to this. If you do have Claudus, so if you have Claudus, Chivalry 1, and then if you also have Claudus's Storm Relic, you can use her skill 3, give everyone attack speed increase, reduce the target's attack gauge, and if she's Chivalry 1, you'll also get this ability where she has an 80% chance to inflict attack speed decrease 2 on all enemies, because on the Storm Relic, that's the only relic that does an AoE on her skill 3. So that is, I guess, the one way around Alan not being the only hero in the entire game that has attack speed down on a skill for AoE. So this is really important for the Keepsake Dungeon. The Keepsake Dungeon with the Storm Dragon that kind of has 3 stages. This is absolutely huge. So this can skill up or book up to 90% chance, which is really good, and it's for 2 turns. And on top of that, he ends up having a attack gauge down attack AoE as well, which can be used in Shrine of Storms and then also in that same Keepsake Dungeon. So with him being the only one that does that, I think he's extremely valuable. It also helps that his second skill has something relevant as well. Like, you're not using him just for his attack 3, although if you're on auto, this is probably what you're going to use. But yeah, like these 3 heroes, I think they're the only ones that are worth going all in on. I think you can certainly level 60 even more of these uncommons, because you probably will need to at least 50, maybe level 60 them, but maybe you don't need all of their relics to be 60 or be awakened to 6-star, to get some of those keepsake items unlocked. The reason why I wanted to bring that up is, even if you have multiple heroes and you're, getting their chivalries up, this burns so much gold. It really does. It only makes sense for someone maybe like me to do this because I need to make content for you guys. But if you're free to play, for sure, like reducing all of your gold to use an uncommon that you might never use, I don't know if it makes sense. I'm not telling you to get rid of those copies just because you never know what kind of new content comes out where you might need those heroes. But yeah, I think if you're leveling up the 3 that I said, it's going to be well worth your gold. It's going to be well worth your resources for, all of your relic leveling up, hero leveling up, all those things. So yeah, I wanted to bring those 3 heroes to you guys. And hopefully, in the future here, once I get more things established on my account and I've cleared all the content, I'll be able to level up some of these uncommons and rares and try and give a more, reasonable team to clear content. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate you watching. If you have any comments on uncommons that you think are amazing, leave them down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.